Past Now Read presents another entry in our anthology of stories that need to be told. Ghost in the Upload. Enjoy! If you have a story that needs to be told, email it to stories@pastnowread.com. Act 1. The Lost. The moment I heard about the hard drive, I knew someone would kill for it. Maybe not yet, but soon. They called him a fool, James Howells, an IT guy from Newport, Wales, who threw away a laptop hard drive in 2013, not realizing it held the private keys to his 8,000 bitcoins. Back then, Bitcoin was a curiosity, maybe a few bucks per coin. But that drive, it was worth about $8 million at the time he tossed it. That was the number that made headlines in 2014. The same number people snickered about at crypto conferences, in coffee shops, in barroom jokes about the guy who lost a fortune in the trash. They weren't laughing anymore. In 2025, the price of Bitcoin surged past $90,000. Do the math. James's hard drive was now worth over $742 million. But he still couldn't touch it. He knew the landfill. He thought he knew the precise quadrant where it was dumped. He even had a company offer to fund a full-scale excavation. But the city council said no. Too expensive, too risky, too messy. 12 years of waiting. Proposals denied, pleas ignored. Bitcoin's value rising like a tide that never came back in. His hands stayed empty. That's when I entered the picture. I'm not James, I never met him, but I owe him. Because that story, his story, set off something I couldn't ignore. My name's not important. What I do is, I operate in shadows behind the scenes now, ghosting between digital footprints and broken trust. I prevent crimes before they happen, not with fists, with foresight, predictive AI, pattern analysis, cold logic, fused with a soft spot I hate to admit I still have. The moment I read James's last public post, they won't let me dig, but someone else will, I knew what would follow. Bitcoin wallets are public, not identities, just wallet addresses. His was dormant for over a decade. No movement, no clues. Then one day, last week, it blinked. A $60 transaction moved from that address. That's how pros test stolen wallets. Tiny withdrawals, just enough to check if the keys work. Someone found it. Not James, someone else. The dark web lit up like a server room on fire. Someone bragged in an encrypted IRC channel. Old wallet, buried treasure. You'll see the first real pull within 72 hours. I traced the chatter. Rerouted through a chain of anonymized servers, but I've seen this pattern before. It always ends in blood. Here's the thing, when people realize a digital fortune can be moved with one key, they stop thinking rationally. It's not like gold, it's not even like cash. No vaults, no guards, just a long string of numbers, 256 bits. You get that key, you own the coins, you lose it, you own regret. So I followed the signal. Odessa, Ukraine, not the clean Odessa in travel brochures, the one carved up by war and reconstruction and opportunists. That's where the wallet moved again. This time, $2.3 million funneled through a layer cake of crypto tumblers and off-chain exchanges, the digital equivalent of setting money on fire to lose the scent. I arrived 2 days later. The moment I stepped off the train, I felt it, the pulse of something wrong. Not just the city's scar tissue, something immediate, something familiar. My handler used to call it ghost sense, like a ripple you feel just before something breaks. I checked into a cold, grey hotel near the port. Cement walls, flickering hallway light. The concierge didn't speak, just handed me a brass key like we were in 1987. I unpacked. One bag, lightweight laptop, folding lockbox with encrypted drives, 3 burner phones, a SIG pistol with the serial filed off. I logged in and ran a query against the known wallet clusters. One address matched a private server I'd flagged 6 months ago, operated by an ex-NSA coder named Marek Ilian, fired for selling exploits to foreign entities, rumored to be hiding out in Eastern Europe. If he had the key, he wouldn't be stupid enough to move large sums, but his mistake was vanity. That $60 test withdrawal? It pinged a custom botnet script, his signature. I tracked him to a third-floor flat above a closed-down bookstore. Curtains drawn, Wi-Fi spiking every 5 minutes like he couldn't help checking the balance again and again. It's like holding a loaded gun you can't fire until you do. I waited in the alley across from his apartment. The air smelled like burning plastic. Below me, street dogs scuffled for trash. I watched the third-floor window, light pulsing in blue. He wasn't alone. A woman, tall, sharp eyes, scar over her left brow. She looked too calm to be a girlfriend. She was holding something in her hand, something small, metallic, and old. Not a gun, not a phone, a hard drive. My pulse jumped. I leaned into the scope. Then I heard the scream. Act 2. The woman with the hard drive. I never meant to get her involved, but there she was, in the middle of a war-torn alley, holding the key to $742 million. I bolted up the fire escape before the second scream, gun drawn, eyes locked on the flickering apartment window. By the time I got inside, Marek was already dead, slumped over a gutted desktop, his fingers still twitching on the keyboard. And her? She was gone. Except not quite. A single security feed looped on his screen, grainy footage of a narrow alley. Her silhouette. Leather coat. The glint of a drive in her left hand. She looked right into the camera before unplugging it. Deliberate. Calculated, Arsad. That wasn't panic. That was control. I dumped Marek's hard drive into a thermal shredder I carried for moments just like this and erased the system with a pulse scrambler. I wasn't here for justice. I was here to prevent what was coming next, because now the story wasn't about Marek or James Howells. Now it was about whoever had the key and what they were willing to do to keep it. 3 hours later, I was back in the alley, standing where the woman had stood. The kind of place you could vanish without making a sound. I replayed the moment on my retinal overlay, tracked her direction, speed, facial angles. This wasn't just someone who stumbled into a crime scene. She knew exactly what that hard drive was worth. That's the danger with Bitcoin. It's not physical. It's not even logical. It's emotional. And in an emotional thriller story like this one, where a single password could rewrite your life or end it, everything's about timing, leverage, and instinct. Back in the hotel, I accessed Marek's darknet trail, auction bids, wallet moves, AI-assisted decryption logs. That's where I found her handle. Verity Sin, a whistleblower tag, female-coded, zero criminal record, but deep activity, leaked court docs, surveillance footage, even hacked election data from Warsaw. Verity wasn't some thief. She was an idealist, and that made her more dangerous than a mercenary, because idealists are hard to predict and even harder to stop. I tracked her digital movement to a hacker bar in Lviv. 4 hours north, 2 trains, 1 burned passport, and a bribe to a border guard later. She was already there, sitting at the back, black coffee, same scar, same drive in her pocket. I could see the bulge under her coat. Her eyes flicked up once, just once, and landed on me. "You're late," she said. That's how our story began. We didn't speak until we were on the train back to Odessa. She didn't need to say much. I already knew too much. I had seen her logs, her posts, her ghosted identities. But none of that prepared me for the way she looked at me in the dim sleeper cabin, like she already knew how it would all end. "You think I took it for the money?" I stayed silent. Sometimes silence draws more truth than questions. "I took it to prove something. That value, real value, isn't what the system says it is. It's what we say it is. The whole financial machine is rigged. This hard drive, it's a lever." We hit a tunnel. Darkness swallowed the car. When the lights returned, she was holding the drive out toward me. "This doesn't belong to James anymore," she whispered. "This belongs to the world." And that's when I understood. She wasn't running. She was about to broadcast the wallet's key. To everyone, I took it from her. Gently, I told her we needed to verify the contents first. Make sure it wasn't bait. She nodded. I never gave it back. Back in Odessa, I wired the drive into a secured, air-gapped machine in a place I knew no one would follow me. Inside was more than just a Bitcoin wallet. Marek had copied blockchain exploits, off-market AI scripts, and private keys that didn't belong to him or James. They belonged to banks, hedge funds, digital vaults. It wasn't a lost fortune anymore. It was a nuclear briefcase. Verity tracked me down a day later. I'd left enough breadcrumbs for her to find me. I let her. She stormed into the room, breath heavy, eyes burning. "You stole it from me." "You're not the only one trying to save the world," I said. She didn't slap me. She just sat down and stared at the floor for a long time. I should have hated her. I should have stayed cold. But something about the way she curled her fingers over the coffee mug, how she kept her boots laced, even when sitting, told me she didn't trust anyone. Not even herself. That kind of broken is rare. And I know because I carry it too. She told me about the night she got that drive from James himself. They had met once through a mutual whistleblower in 2023. He didn't want the money anymore. He wanted a message, a reckoning. He called it digital repentance, she said. He wanted the world to feel what it meant to lose trust. That's what Bitcoin really is. Trust without permission. I knew then what I had to do. Not destroy it, not use it, but leak just enough of it, strategically, to crumble the facades of corrupt systems. Use the AI tools Marek embedded to expose crime, theft, war profiteering, make it impossible to unsee. Verity and I weren't allies, not yet. But we weren't enemies anymore either. We were something worse. We were mirrors. The first drop went live 3 hours later, an encrypted zip file sent to 6 investigative journalists across 5 countries. Inside, transaction logs that tied a major Eastern European investment bank to covert arms shipments in Yemen. 3 hours after that, someone tried to put a bullet through my hotel room door. They missed, but not by much. "They know we're coming," Verity whispered. "Now it's a war." Act 3. The download that shook the world. We leaked the first file. By morning, one of us would be dead. In this emotional AI thriller story, what began with a lost Bitcoin hard drive turned into an international hunt for truth, power, and the one woman who could crash the global system with a single upload. It was supposed to be a controlled release. A breadcrumb trail, subtle, surgical, dropped to 6 investigative journalists using SecureDrop. Encrypted archives containing transaction logs, shell company links, unspent transaction outputs, UTXOs, all pointing to a billion-dollar weapons laundering operation buried beneath crypto trades in Luxembourg. We watched the first headline go live at 2:17 a.m. Private wallets linked to arms contracts in Yemen, how Bitcoin funded a war. By 2:46, half the journalists went silent. By 3:01, our comms blacked out. They'd found us. I swept the suite. 2 bugs in the curtains, 1 high-frequency resonance mic in the ceiling lamp, and Verity, still on the edge of the bed, staring at the hard drive like it was the beating heart of some long-dead god. "They're not going to stop," she whispered. "No," I said, but neither are we." She didn't flinch, just nodded, like she already knew it would end like this. We had 37 minutes before the next upload. I spun up Marek's AI decryption engine. The code worked like a bloodhound, hunting nodes, unspooling Monero fog trails, chaining illicit transfers using synthetic heuristics. It wasn't legal, but neither was silence. "You're shaking," I said, watching her hands tremble. She gave me a crooked smile. "Do you ever get used to holding a bomb? Not the kind that screams when it goes off." She looked up at me, eyes glassed over. I knew that look, not fear, regret. Why are you really doing this?" I told her the truth. Kiev, 2016. My brother caught in a drone strike on a target that didn't exist, a signature strike. No names, no confirmation, just a heat signature and a war room full of people who didn't care what they hit. He wasn't a statistic, he was my compass. And when they burned him off the map, I stopped trusting the map. The next leak went live at 3:20 a.m. This time, not to journalists, to a public blockchain explorer used by developers worldwide. Just raw data, wallet movements, scrambled internal memos, proof that a Brazilian telecom was funneling encrypted consumer metadata to a rogue AI startup training synthetic surveillance agents. No commentary, just facts. By 4:00 a.m., Interpol issued statements, politicians tweeted denials, anonymous accounts screamed fake, but nobody could disprove the chain. It was ironclad. We'd done it. Cracked the first wall. That's when the bounty dropped. 3 million crypto, no questions asked. For the leaker, dead or alive. Verity didn't say anything. She didn't need to. We moved fast. I packed the gear. She scrubbed the logs. I watched her across the room, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, like she was waiting for an explosion. "You still don't trust me, do you?" she asked. "I don't trust anyone. That's why I'm still alive." "That's not living," she said. She was right, but I wasn't ready to admit that yet. Drone ping at 4:07. Perimeter breach. The sound was soft, like a camera lens clicking shut. But I knew what it meant. Corporate kill tech. Stealth recon drones. AI-powered. Designed to mark targets, not question them. "We're out of time," I said. I burned the drives. Scrambled the backup stack. But it wasn't enough. The window exploded inward. Verity screamed. I grabbed her and we bolted. Down the stairwell, smoke following, a high-pitched whine, drone tracking tone. Roof access door cracked open to frost and panic. 3 black vans below. "Jump," I said. We'll die. We stay, we're dead anyway." I jumped first, fell hard, rolled, shoulder shattered on impact. But I was breathing. She landed beside me, breathless, scraped, alive. We ducked into the alley. I fired a flared jammer. The drone dropped like a brick, but more would come. We made it to a safe house by dawn. No light, no power. Just an analog radio and a reinforced panic room under a warehouse outside Odessa. She patched my arm in silence, and when it was over, I didn't thank her. I just said, "They'll kill everyone involved, even those who just read the file." "Then we give them something they can't kill," she said. She lifted the last backup drive. We released the full chain. "Verity, that chain has names, heads of state, CEOs, bank nodes." "Exactly." She didn't blink, and for the first time I realized she might go farther than I ever would. And that terrified me. Act 4. The Hunters and the Code. She hit upload. They hit back. Now we're hunted by everyone. In this narrated suspense story 2025, truth isn't currency, it's a target. And the moment Verity released the key file, the world turned upside down. She uploaded it at 6:04 a.m. the final chain. Private keys, node logs, metadata bundles, all cryptographically tied to a rotating pool of offshore entities funneling stolen identities, war payments, and asset-laundered AI patents. It didn't just expose a system, it was the system. And within 6 minutes, the internet convulsed. Governments went into blackout, DNS servers tripped. A dozen major media outlets posted articles, then pulled them, wiped clean by legal injunctions moving faster than the page loads. Someone posted our coordinates on X. Someone else added a live bounty. By 6:15 a.m., we were running again. Verity had blood on her cheek from the rooftop jump. Her jacket was torn. But it was the look in her eyes that scared me more than anything. Not panic, conviction. "They won't just come for us," I said as we weaved through the burned-out district near Odessa's port. They'll erase everyone connected to it. They already are. She tossed me a burner phone. Anonymous feeds showed 3 of the journalists we'd contacted were now under investigation for cyber terrorism. Their families were in protective custody. They weren't coming home, and neither were we. This wasn't just about Bitcoin anymore. It had become a war over data, over AI financial crime engines, black box algorithms that predicted wars, collapsed currencies, and selected who lived and who disappeared. And Verity had pulled the mask off the code. We made it to an old Soviet-era telecom bunker beneath a train yard, one of my backups. I keyed the lock, and the rusted hatch hissed open. Inside, analog air, no Wi-Fi, no signal. A safe place to breathe. But breathing didn't mean safety. Not anymore. We sat across from each other on cold steel crates. Verity wiped blood from her face, her hands trembling only when she thought I wasn't looking. "They'll blame you," she said. They'll blame us both. You didn't hit upload. You didn't kill Marek." We stared at each other, and in that silence something cracked. I should have kept my distance. I had rules, no attachments, no softness, but there was something about her, the stubborn fire, the way she looked like she'd been holding her breath since the world stopped believing in honesty. I moved closer. "Why did you really do it?" She didn't lie, because I was tired of being scared of the truth. Then she leaned into me like she had nothing else left to lose. And I let her. We didn't sleep. Not because we couldn't, because we knew what would come next. The first missile struck at 7:12 a.m., a deep, vibrating thud, like the earth itself flinched. We felt the shockwave before the walls cracked. "They found us," she said. "We're underground." That was above ground. Seconds later, gas. A bitter haze flooding the vents, not to kill, to flush us out. I pulled her into the crawl space behind the generator room. We slid through rust and grime into the old sewer line. That's when I realized they weren't here to take us. They were here to take the code back. "You didn't copy the node chain, did you?" I asked, heart racing. "No. So once they destroy the relay, it's gone, forever." And suddenly, I understood the stakes. Not just for us, but for truth. We resurfaced a kilometer away through a maintenance grate into the rain. Odessa glowed under sirens, drones in the distance, not military, contractors, and not just any, logo on one, Rhombus Security, private firm, AI deployment, ghosted from US funding streams, known for cleaning leaks. They weren't after revenge, they were after rollback. We split. Verity ducked into a tram station. I circled wide to draw heat off her. 2 men followed me, tactical, quiet, they didn't yell. They drew silenced weapons and didn't hesitate. I ducked behind a pillar, returned fire. One dropped, the other clipped me through the thigh. I ran anyway. Minutes later, Verity called from a burner. I made it to the extraction point. "I'm hit. They're blocking all roads out. I have one chance." "Then take it. I can't leave you." "You already did, when you uploaded that file." Silence. Then, "Meet me in the old cathedral. I'll wait." By the time I got there, she was gone, but the hard drive was sitting on the altar, wrapped in her coat, and there was blood on the stone. Act 5. The Last Signal. The cathedral was empty, but her blood was still warm. In this emotional thriller story 2025, truth comes with a body count, and the closer I got to exposing it, the more I lost. She was gone. No screams, no gunshots, no scuffed floor or trail of footprints. Just silence, and the coat folded neatly on the altar. And the hard drive, still warm in my hands, still humming. But no Verity. I scanned the cathedral, wood splintered, incense dust, fractured stained glass, leaking weak morning light onto cracked marble. There were 2 drops of blood on the floor, then nothing. "They took her," I whispered aloud. "Or she ran." I didn't know which hurt more. I opened the drive. One final partition was locked. Her private keys. And one file. A time-stamped video message recorded 2 hours ago. Her voice shaky. Her hair wet from the rain. If you're watching this, I didn't make it out. But you can. Everything we leaked, everything we exposed was a map. They're following it now, tracing nodes, flushing servers, but they can't erase what's already moving. She looked down, then back up. I left one last key in the place where we met. On the train, car 9, seat 47B. She paused. Promise me you'll make it count. I closed the lid. No more doubts. I had to finish what we started. Across this AI espionage romance, we'd exposed money laundering, weapons sales, synthetic surveillance, and now the final chapter was unfolding in a haunted cathedral with Verity's sacrifice cutting through digital silence like a confession. I made it out through the organ shaft, climbed to the bell tower, and base jumped onto the adjacent rooftop. The old city blurred beneath me. Sirens, smoke, a surveillance drone I blinded with a flared jammer. By nightfall, I was on the train. Car 9, seat 47B, a folded napkin taped beneath the seat. Inside, a micro SD, and written in ink, "This is the rest of me." I decrypted it in a Warsaw internet cafe with tinted windows and a fake passport. The file unspooled like a weapon. Rhombus Security, the private firm chasing us, wasn't freelance. It was a shadow division of a Western defense conglomerate. They weren't trying to stop the leaks. They had planted the first node. The entire system was a feedback loop, training itself off of international black market AI, then predicting global conflict to drive stock market shifts. Verity had the proof, and now, so did I. But I couldn't just leak it again. They were watching every channel, every journalist, every drop point. I needed amplification, I needed risk, I needed legacy. I contacted the one person I swore I'd never trust again, Anya De La Rosa, ex-MI6, now a media ghost running darknet news drops for political dissidents. She picked up on the first encrypted ping. "You're either suicidal or heroic. Does it matter which? Send me the files, I'll push it global. But if you get caught, I won't. You always say that." We arranged a handoff at an underground garage in Berlin. Low angle, fluorescent buzz, car exhaust in the air like a warning. Anya stepped out of a black SUV, trench coat fluttering. I passed her the drive. "If you don't hear from me in 24 hours, you're already dead." I nodded. She vanished. Then I saw them. 3 shadows, one stepped forward. Rhombus. He raised a suppressed weapon. I didn't run. I pulled out my burner and hit upload. The final signal. The backup relay fired to Anya. A mirror pulse hit 15 open-source clouds across 4 continents. They couldn't stop it. Even if they killed me. The shot rang out. White heat. Knees buckled. My blood hit the concrete, but I saw the green flash on my phone. Upload complete. Then I passed out. I woke up days later in an Albanian medical ward, wrapped in gauze and traded for silence. Anya never visited. But the leaks flooded the world. Headlines, hearings, CEOs resigning, defense contractors subpoenaed, protests. Verity's voice echoed in every bite of truth. If you're watching this, I didn't make it, but you can. I did. Because of her. Epilogue. What remained? She vanished after the upload, but the world finally heard her. I still dream about her, not the cathedral, not the blood, but her voice, saying, "Make it count." After the final drop, the world convulsed. Governments cracked open like eggshells. Financial regulators swarmed crypto markets. Half of Rhombus Security's board vanished. The other half claimed ignorance. That part didn't surprise me, but this did. Verity became a myth, not a headline, not a martyr, a ghost in the code. Her image, grainy, rain-drenched, defiant, went viral within hours. Leaked from the time-stamped video she left me, it became the face of something bigger than Bitcoin, bigger than corruption. It became faith. That one person with nothing to lose could still rewrite the algorithm. I disappeared again. Took a fake name in the Baltic states. Ran signal bounces for whistleblowers. Watched the chain reaction she started ripple out through systems too bloated to adapt. And sometimes, in the quiet hours between midnight and whatever came next, I'd open the last drive. She'd hidden a second file I didn't notice before. Just audio, her voice. If the system turns you into silence, break yourself into signal. This was always more than a story about Bitcoin or AI financial crime. It was about us. The people caught between silence and survival. The ones who aren't hackers or soldiers or CEOs, but who still carry the cost of lies. I didn't save her, but I finished it. That's what counts. There's a mural now, painted under a bridge in Warsaw, her face staring out over the river. No plaque, no credits, just a single line. Truth survives in the people who carry it forward, and I do, one node at a time. She became a ghost in the code, but the truth never died. You have been listening to Ghost in the Upload, produced and adapted for audio narration by Past Now Read. Stories that need to be told. If you have a story that needs to be told, email it to stories@pastnowread.com. Please subscribe and hit that bell for future updates. If you liked this story, stay tuned for the next episode each Thursday evening. Follow for more. If you like our stories, please tag with someone who may also like Past Now Read, stories that need to be told. It would really help our channel. Thank you. All content and images are copyrighted by Phone House, LLC, 2025, all rights reserved.